Marsha Lewis. Let's talk. Today is Sunday, January the 24th, 2021. This commentary is a brief commentary. I just wanted to give you an update that on tomorrow, the Senate will receive the Articles of Impeachment for the second time for Donald J. Trump, which was the 45th president, and on January the 6th, 2021, because of his incitement of an insurrection that took place at our nation's capital, something that had never happened since 1814, when the British attacked our nation's capital. Our own, at the time, 45th president incited an insurrection where he told people of his base, domestic terrorists, white supremacists, again, people of his base, to go to our nation's capital, to storm our nation's capital. They broke windows. 5 people lost their lives on that day. One was also a police officer. And the following week, a week after his insurrection on January the 12th, the House of Representatives impeached Donald J. Trump for the second time, because he also got impeached in 2020 in January, he was impeached. And this is the first time in the United States history that ever a sitting United States president has been impeached twice. And he is only a one-term president. As of last Wednesday, we sworn in our 46th president. That is President Joe Biden. And we now have a new vice president, a woman president, and also a woman of color, Vice President Kamala Harris. So therefore, Madam Nancy Pelosi issued a statement that they will be sending the Articles of Impeachment to the Senate, which means the Senate now have an obligation, a responsibility to hold Donald J. Trump accountable for his role for the incitement of an insurrection that took place at our nation's capital. Again, an insurrection that took place at our nation's capital. He must be held accountable. But of course, we are seeing some Republicans are still being that Donald Trump supporter. They're not looking at what happened at our nation's capital. It was a breach to our nation's capital. Else, insurrection took place. 5 people lost their lives, and the president incited it. Just hours before it took place, he had told them to go and storm the Capitol, to go fight like hell. His son, Don Jr., was there telling them what to do. His attorney, Rudy Jr., and many other Congress people was also saying, go do this and go do that. And so he must be held accountable, because this is and at the time, he was the president. Now he's the former 45th president. But he was impeached by the House of Representatives for the incitement. So now the Senate has a major responsibility. They already didn't handle the situation right. Because no way Donald Trump should have been able to just leave January the 20th at 12, or it was supposed to be, but he chose not to be a part of the inauguration like other previous president. One other previous president would have operated in doing the peaceful transport of power, but Donald J. Trump has called the 2020 presidential election a rigged election, a fraud, because he was not the person chosen by we the American people. He did not want to accept the results. And the reason truly that he fought so hard is not because he wanted to remain president. The man has legal pending situations. That's what his problem is. That's what his concern is. Because anytime you go to the measures, he did court cases, over 50 court cases, lost all of those court cases. He tried to coerce and did everything he could with officials from the state of Georgia, calling a state official, and it was a tape released about the phone call that took place on a Saturday, where he said to give him 11,780 votes. He precisely asked for 11,780 votes so that he could overturn the will of the American people from the state of Georgia, because those electoral votes went to, at that time, it was President-elect Joe Biden. Donald J. Trump tried to overturn the will of the American people. That's criminal. Anyone else, the GOP, Republican Party, they would have been having a fit. They would have been going absolutely crazy and calling it out. But because it was their candidate, many of them got in cahoots with him and went along with the lie. They know it was a lie. They know that there was no rigged election. They know we had a free and fair election, and the American people chose Joe Biden. But you had many Republicans, and still there are some out here feeding to this crap. And you got these people that is his base that believes that the election was rigged. How absurd, how crazy can one be? But again, this is where we are in the United States of America. The man incited an insurrection. He should have been removed January the 6th, 2021, but no later than January the 7th, 2021. But no, what did they do? They allowed him to go free, just like they allowed those domestic terrorists to walk out of our nation's capital and go home to their family. They have begun to arrest people, but they should have not even been able to go home. Anyone else? If that had been black protesters, Black Lives Matter people, they wouldn't have gotten home, would have not been able to go home. First of all, they'd have been shot and killed. They would have been tear gassed, as we saw back in the summer. But because this was white people, white domestic terrorists, white supremacists in Trump's base, they got to go home. And the Congress, men and women, did nothing to hold Trump, the president, accountable for inciting an insurrection. That man should have been removed immediately from office. He should have. How can you rule and govern when this is what you are allowing? And now you have the GOP, the Republican Party, talking about unify. Okay, I can go with unify, but when you have done wrong, you still must be held accountable. It's trying to pretend it didn't happen when all of those men and women, all of our congressmen and women, lives were in danger on January the 6th. And this was incited by the United States 45th president. Come on. What world are you really in? The vice president, the Madam Speaker, staffers, and even those white terrorists, domestic terrorists that was there. They put their lives in danger at the instruction of Donald J. Trump. Because they said that he sent them. They're doing it for their boss. That's what they said, our boss. They also said that Ted Cruz and Josh Hawley, Ted Cruz would be pleased with what we've got, and so would Josh Hawley. And as this continues to unfold, I really believe we're going to find out a lot of congressmen and women played a role as well. And that would be truly sad. But I definitely and truly believe as this continues to play out, the more evidence that is released to us, the American people, the public, we're just going to learn just how corrupt our congressmen and women are, and to what levels they would really go to maintain power. This is where we are. This is where we are. They're wanting to operate in the Trump era, which is that of racism. It's all about racism and keeping people like me down. The real war here that they're mad with President Biden is because he chose a black woman to hold the next highest role in our country, that being the vice president. She's a woman, and she's a black woman. She's an educated woman of many expertise and credentials. She's bad. And that's what this is about. Because see, they hated the first black president, which was President Barack Obama. That's why they fought against everything he tried to do. Mitch McConnell openly said he wasn't going to work when he wasn't going to even try. And they didn't. They hated him because of the skin color he has. The pigmentation in his skin not being that of theirs, which is a Caucasian all-white man. They want to remain in this ghetto boy. You do as I say, when I say, and what I say, and how I say. That's their mentality. But it's time to hold Donald J. Trump accountable. I often think, how can these people sleep at night? But when you have been this type of individual where you're just corrupt and you don't care, if your only thought and greed process is that of greed for more power, more money, that only stimulates you more. It's not about the American people. It's about you, again, with this thing of power over many of the less fortunate. And you don't want to see a black person rise to get on the caliber of you. This is where we are. So tomorrow, the Madam Speaker Nancy Pelosi will be sending the Articles of Impeachment to the Senate. I only pray and hope that he does. I know he's no longer in office, but it needs to be where he can never run for office again. And this man, because they didn't remove him, they just let him waltz out of there as if he was a former president leaving on the last day. He has a pension at the expense of you and I, the American people. He has a travel allotment, and it's already being reported that supposedly he's trying to start a third party, Make America Great. As Sonny Hostin had mentioned on The View, this president can get to travel around the world at our expense, we the American people, with his continue to spread his conspiracy. And if this is what is being reported, allegedly being reported in news media and on various platforms, social media platforms and all, if that is true, that he's trying to start a Make America Great, the Magnum, it's on the expense of us, the American people, he should have been removed. But it needs to be where the House convicts him, takes away the privilege that he was given because he was a previous president, and all the amendment that normally goes along to previous president should be stripped. The man incited an insurrection. He went against his own country for his own malicious greed. He must be held accountable. And that Senate is your responsibility. Just 3 days before that insurrection took place on January 3rd, on a Sunday, you all walked in the chambers where many of you, all of you, was down on your knees, or once you was in various locations, you was in hiding because of the domestic terrorists that was threatening your lives. You took an oath to preserve and protect our United States Constitution against foreign and domestic. The enemy in this case was that of our own, the 45th president. Hold Donald J. Trump accountable. You have an obligation. But as I've seen in the past, they'll raise those right hands and they'll put that other hand, that left hand on the Bible, and still, just like Donald J. Trump in 2017, he raised his hand and he put his hand on the Bible. And we seen what he's done the past 4 years. We saw the stunt he did this summer where peaceful protesters in Washington protest against the inhumane treatment for George Floyd, who was killed by a police with his knee. The man put his knee and made the man suffocate, and he died. Peaceful protesters was going on. He tear gassed so he can do just a photo op to hold a Bible upside down at a church. And we all know he's not a man of faith, doesn't regularly attend any type of church. Insurrection took place at our nation's capital at the incitement of the president Just how cruel can you be? So now the ball is in the hands of the men and women that are our senators, our Congress men and women. How many of you are going to continue to look the other way, sweep it under the rug? You're trying to pretend it didn't happen, but it did. You got Kevin McCarthy out there talking about unity, and Trump didn't tell him. He did tell him to go. And you can't have unity without accountability. It's time to man up, get a spine, and if you got some balls, it's time to use them. And to these women that's so submissive, Susan Collins from the first impeachment, where I think he's learned his lesson, where he did not, Susan. The man incited an insurrection at our nation's capital where you were there. It's time for these women to also woman up and stop being those little submissive yes to do things you know are wrong. You too took an oath. Accountability is due. So we shall see how this plays out. We know now the minority leader, Mitch McConnell, because the Democrat now controls the House and the Senate. Thank God for that. He's trying, as they've been stating, trying to hold it out to February. But as we know, next week is February. Next week will be, because in fact, next Monday will be February the 1st. But the articles of impeachment will be going to the Senate tomorrow, January the 25th, 2021. And the Senate needs to do their jobs. And they need to uphold the oath that they took to preserve and protect our Constitution against foreign and domestic. And the enemy was Donald J. Trump. I'm Marsha Lewis. Let's talk.